Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mic'd Avengers podcast, where we focus on martial arts and action cinema, but definitely delve into much more. My name is Jason from Martial Arts Theater 3000. I've been a lifelong fan of martial arts movies from Bruce Lee to the Venom Mob, Bruceploitation, and everything in between.
My name's Dragon, aka the Fanatical Dragon on YouTube. I also write the Blu-ray reviews for Eastern Heroes magazine right here in the UK. I'm about 4 decades into this love affair with East Asian cinema, specifically action cinema. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan and the Shaw Brothers got me into Hong Kong films, but unlike my buddy Jason, I've seen a whole bunch of Japanese, Indonesian and South Korean action flicks too. So over the coming episodes, every so often, we're going to force feed him something he has not seen.
And I'm Shaun, also known as Foo for Thought. It all started for me at the tender age of 14, where I discovered Jackie Chan's Drunken Master. From there, I kind of delved into old school Kung Fu, and that has been my passion for 30 plus years now. I also started delving into all realms of Asian cinema, and I'm very happy to say that these days I have a pretty strong passion for kind of dark Korean thrillers. If you like what you hear and you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a like, share and subscribe. And please enjoy this episode of the Mic'd Avengers.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mic'd Avengers podcast. I am here, I am Shaun, and I am here with Jason, aka Martial Arts Theater 3000.
Hello
Say
everyone.
hello Jason, there we go. And I'm here with the Fanatical Dragon as well.
Welcome back again.
Say hi. There we go. And we are doing our, I was corrected on Instagram because I called this our first sequel. And it's not our first sequel. I believe you pointed that out.
Yeah, that was me. I felt bad. I was like, well, technically, yeah, because we have
Master
done
2.
Yeah. But this is our first podcast sequel. Like in our podcast land, we're sequeling one of our previous episodes. So you were right in a way.
Exactly. Yes. It was our first sequel in which we'd done the first film. So I'll stop talking about whether it's a sequel or not. And I will tell you, it is The Raid 2, 2014's The Raid 2, directed by Gareth Evans, a fellow Welshman. So I'm very proud of his efforts. Starring, and I still don't know how to say his last name right. Is it Uwais or Uwais?
I thought it was Uwais. Or, yeah,
is it
Uwais? I think so.
Okay.
But a Welshman and a Scotsman deliberating about Asian pronunciation is a losing battle at the best.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. But okay, starring Iko Uwais and starring a plethora of other actors, some well recognized, others not so much. I will not go over their names because some tough pronunciations there, and I really don't want to get them wrong. The good thing about this episode is it is another intervention episode for our man Jason here. He had not seen The Raid 2. And if you have not listened to our episode on The Raid, please go back and do, because that was also an intervention for Jason. But before we get into Jason's opinions, we're going to pump the brakes a little bit and we're going to dive into the Fanatical Dragon's opinions. So, Dragon, what's your relationship with The Raid 2? Do you love it? And more importantly, is it better than The Raid?
Well,
Before we get there, shall I do my synopsis first?
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I goofed up. Dragon did have some synopses or synopsize.
They're very brief. So the often unreliable Google proves once again to be a little bit unreliable. And it tells us that Rama, a policeman from Jakarta, goes undercover as Yuda, a ruthless prisoner, in order to expose the corrupt police officers who've been colluding with the city's crime syndicates, which makes it sound like an entirely set in prison movie, which it is not.
Yes.
IMDb does better, where it says only a short time after the first raid, Rama goes undercover with the thugs of Jakarta and plans to bring down the syndicate and uncover the corruption within his police force, which is entirely more accurate by all accounts.
Yeah. Smoother too. Yeah, that's nice and compact. The second one.
It's pretty succt, right?
Me and Shaun were like furling our eyebrows listening to the first one. We were both like,
I could see you both doing mental gymnastics. For me, I think I saw this when it first came out at the cinema. We were lucky enough to kind of get a very limited run of it. I think it played as one of the Edinburgh Film Festivals. I think. Don't 100% take that as word, but I definitely saw it on the big screen first, and then many times since. Absolutely loved it at the first point of seeing it. I'd already been bowled over by the first Raid movie. For me, I know an awful lot of people do still favor the first. I am not in that camp. From the time that I saw it originally right through to now, I think the second one's a much more well-realized, bigger budget, kind of better realized movie. And in some ways was kind of the goal was to always make this movie. Like, he only made what we think of as The Raid Part 1 because he couldn't initially get money together to make what ultimately became The Raid 2. I think in most Asian markets, they're not called Raid 1 and 2, they're called Raid Redemption and Raid Berendal, with Raid 2 being Berendal. So Berendal, I think, was his original plan, but he did tweak it a little bit after the success of the first Raid movie, changed the script a little bit so that it ties on directly. And it does take place literally a few hours after the first movie. But then spans a pretty long period of time, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I absolutely adore this movie. I think integral for kickstarting the Indonesian wave of action cinema that would come after it. Often imitated, rarely bettered by many accounts, by most nations who try and do action. Still has some of the most incredible hand-to-hand combat, some of the best kind of car sequences that we've seen in an action movie.
Yeah.
Some phenomenally inventive stuff. I watched the behind the scenes, if you haven't already, on the making of the movie, and there's a whole bunch of fun tricks that are going on in those car chase sequences. Guys dressed up as car seats so they could be past the camera. Just brilliant. So insanely inventive. So yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. I think it gives Iko an awful lot more to do as from an actor, as well as in terms of action stakes. He's going up against an awful lot more people at one time than he did in the first movie. And it is in a whole bunch of kind of different scenarios. This one does much better in terms of action villains. In the first one, we really only had Yahan, who does come back here playing a different character, which could be confusing, but just take it, he's playing a different character. This is not the resurrected version of his character from the first movie. And he has quite a heartbreaking little story arc in this one. Also, Yahan, who plays the kind of the hitman who's taken out by his own side, really. And his little scenes I really enjoy, even his non-action scenes when he's meeting with his particularly callous ex-wife who's fleecing him for cash, and all that stuff I absolutely adore. And he even makes me believe that it can snow in Indonesia in that sense, which just exists because he wanted to see red blood against white snow, and it looks damn cool. So it does not ever snow in Jakarta. I don't know if historically it ever has or ever will, but a phenomenal powerhouse of an action movie that I love as much every time that I see it as I did the first time. It always gets me kind of back to that sort of place, and it's a hard movie to not stick with once you put it on. Like, it's not the sort of movie that you stick on, watch for a couple of minutes. Every single time I get sucked back into the story because it's paced so well. It's quite long, but it's paced unbelievably well. So it's a high bar for me. I absolutely adore it. And I'm going to throw it back to Shaun so we keep people in suspense. We're going to keep Jason his first impressions. I'm
firmly sealed. I got my. I'm not even nodding. I'm like.
My opinions would be a slight repetition from yours. I watched this movie at the cinema. I'd watched the first one at the cinema. I can't remember where I saw that. But I when this one dropped and I knew it was local, I had to go and see it. So I ran out to go and see it. I think I saw this 3 times in the cinema and had a blast every time. It's been a while since I've seen it, and to be honest, I haven't seen it that many times. I will say I've only seen this probably outside of the cinema maybe twice. So in total, maybe 5 times. And coming to watch it again this time, this film, to me, is the modern masterpiece to beat in terms of action cinema. There's nothing that's come close to beating it. I know a lot of people say something like The Night Comes for Us is better than this. It's not. It really isn't. It's maybe in a way it's more enjoyable The Night Comes for Us because it is kind of more cartoonishly violent. This film is superb. It is a cleverly made gangster epic. And it is one of the most bone-crunching action films you'll see, maybe ever. I don't know if many films can even get better than this. The step up from the first Raid to the second Raid in terms of choreography is it's such a steep climb. to me, they're two completely different styles. And I don't know how they did that, because I was watching an interview earlier, and they actually had the choreography for the Raid 2 nailed down by the end of Marantau. So they already knew what they were going to go on. Like you said, Dragon, that Raid 2 was meant to be the first film, his big film. So they had the choreography for this down. But to me, two things about the choreography in this. One, I just think it's head and shoulders above pretty much anything I've seen in modern action. And then two, this might seem kind of wild, but some of the action in this feels like modern day shapes. Some of the exaggerated movements, it scratches that little shapes itch that I have at the back of my brain, and it just really, really works well. The final, I guess the final fight scene between Iko and, is it Chechep or Sechep? It's one of the two, right?
Cecep.
Oh, is it Cecep? Okay. Cecep, Arif,
maybe.
Ramen.
Tomato.
I just have to say, you guys are making me feel better, because I had all of these names. I'm looking at these things, and I'm feeling better that you're struggling, because I was about to practice it before I got on air. I was like, how am I going to say Arifin, Patra?
Yeah,
I think it's CSEP. I'm not 100% sure, but one thing that we do conclusively 100% know about him is he is a silat master. Like he is proper professional, full-time martial artist, more than an actor. He has acted in other things off the back of this, but I think this is the first time that he did act.
Yep, this is the first, and he's never reached the heights of this film again. But then, how do you reach the heights of this film when your sole true fight scene is with Iko and it's a 10-minute barn burner? It's just, I don't know. It's also, I had a bit of Mandela effect when watching the final fight scene, because I swore to God that Cechep absolutely destroyed Iko in that fight, and then Iko comes back. Iko fucking hands him his ass for the whole fight scene. It's great. I just think the added addition of baseball bat boy and hammer girl, and it just, I don't know, that there's certain elements of this film that are slightly left of reality. It feels more like a kind of comic, or not a comic, but a graphic novel, more than just a kind of standard movie. Yeah, so basically, when it comes down to it, I think it's maybe the definitive modern martial arts masterpiece. I think I'm safe saying that. If you go back to the 70s, I think there are better action sequences. But as far as modern films, yeah, chef's kiss. Now, there may be some arguments as to, is Drunken Master 2 modern, quote unquote modern? I'm not going to get into that. But as far as the recent years go, this is it. This is it for me.
Yes.
Okay.
It's up there with Hard Boiled. I think if we were going to, if every country could only put forward kind of one movie as its kind of definitive entry into the annals of action cinema, then absolutely Indonesia would have to put through the Raid 2.
So let's get into our main attraction here, as we would call it. Jason, how do you feel about the Raid 2?
Well, I'm going to do a little small backstory, not too big of a drum roll, but people from the intro and who've listened to our other episodes, I've been resistant to modern martial arts movies. I do watch modern movies, of course, thrillers. I love lots of different styles and genres, but the modern martial arts movies always, I was just wanting to go back to Shaw Brothers and some random 7 Grandmasters. That's my bread and butter. But I have to say, Dragon was the one with John Wick, who, I don't know, even some modern day action, I still kind of pine for Schwarzenegger, Stallone. When I see some of these, whatever, I don't know, I do like Taken and stuff. I pick my spots on them. Sometimes it's just, I glaze over on some of them. It doesn't give me the impact. So Dragon giving me John Wick, I think kind of was like, he sent it to me because he couldn't believe I hadn't seen it. And that kind of led to these interventions. That was like an early intervention before we had the podcast. So when I saw, this is going to, get right into my point here, is that when I saw John Wick 3, I was like, this is like, I think the best U.S. action movie I've ever seen in my life. I haven't seen John Wick 4 yet. Still, that's kind of weird. I got to get to that, but who knows? Maybe that's a podcast. That'd be a great one. We'll see.
Maybe.
John Wick 3, man, you've sold me a lot of things here. I don't know. You wouldn't really call that a martial arts movie. Maybe. I mean, it's a little bit. It's a mix.
There's a lot of jiu-jitsu in it, a lot of judo.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it's a nice mix. So that was my king of like overall, I mean, of course there's the nostalgia and Predator. I'd put them neck and neck, and it's hard to compare those when you're talking that many years. So that was like my, high watermark. So we started the Interventions, the Raid, everything going up through. People can listen to get my opinions on that. But I have to say, the Raid 2, I'll just jump to it. I mean, it's unfucking believable. It really, I mean, sincerely.
We got him.
Oh, dude, it is like, and here's the problem. I always love the phrase comparison is the death of joy, or some people say comparison is the thief of joy. I always try to like put that in my mind because I'm going to have to go against the Raid on some of these, and out of the gates, this might be a little bit of a hot take. This is so amazing. I'm going to tell you why I think it's amazing. But do you know what I think would maybe make it better, which is a strange thing? I don't know if you heard this before.
Boobs?
If it wasn't related, did you say boobs? That's classic. No, is if it wasn't
connected.
A sequel, if it wasn't connected to the Raid, I think it may be, because it's so different. Here's the thing. Let me say this. The Raid reminds me of, I like analogies and metaphors. I love Breath of the Wild on Switch. I think that's an amazing game. But some people, when they knock it, they would say it sometimes feels like a tech demo, and they felt the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, had more story and more things. The Raid sometimes feels a little bit of a tech demo to me, meaning that they were showing what they could do and everything, but it was missing for me the substance that made me care so much. You know what I mean? And strangely, though, I have trouble backing up my points on this at times, because here's what it is on the Raid 2. It has so much of the X factor that even when the Raid 2 doesn't set it up with all this dialogue or anything, here's another example. In The Night Comes for Us, when they would show the operator in these things, I didn't care enough. I don't know why, because it didn't have that it factor to make it like click for me. But when you see, what's his name, Bat Boy or Baseball Boy?
Baseball Bat Boy. Yeah,
okay, you see him, and it took me a second to realize that was the operator, Juliet. I wrote down her, Juliet Estelle. I don't know. It was just all clicking. And even from the gate, when I saw the 2.5 hour runtime, I was like, oh, I hope this really works for me, because like, I don't know. I had a weird feeling. Like and to be honest, when it did that first fight when he's having to like go into the prison, and it's shaking, that was done great. But I was like, oh, I hope it's just not 2.5 hours of just that, and it was great. And then it settled into its pacing. And man, whoever edited that, is that the same editor as the first one?
It's Gareth Evans. He edits all the
he edits too.
And same cinematographer.
It is so well paced. And you guys know, I've said multiple times, I like slower movies. I love, that's why I love Tarantino so much. When you watch Inglourious Bastards, where the Nazis sitting there and they're down below. I just love living in those moments. I love No Country for Old Men. I'm the guy that thinks Eyes Wide Shut is one of Stanley Kubrick's best, but he has a lot of slower movies, but I just love all that. So the fact that it slowed down made me get pulled in. I loved the 2.5 hours. I loved every minute of it. And they did so many little things that it made me, to be honest, it made the things that I took issue with the Raid were all fixed suddenly. There was times in the Raid where I felt like Aiko looked like he came from like an Indonesian boy band or something with his hair and stuff. Here they had him like a buzz cut, the scar. He beefed up a little bit because 3 years later he looked a little bigger and it looked better for it. It didn't, and that was actually kind of the charm of the Raid, is that when he opened up, it was like an accordion. He didn't look as intimidating, and then holy crap, he kind of carried himself as a badass, that it worked better. He sat into the role more for me.
Didn't the trailer, or didn't the original teaser trailer for this just feature him punching the prison wall? Wasn't that the original teaser? Just him going like hitting the wall? And I remember the action cinema community kind of blew up. They were just like, oh my God, this looks amazing. And I think then they released the big trailer shortly after.
So the story is very well done. I almost, like, when it was over, I thought I'm going to go right to the commentary and do all these things and watch all the extras. It hit me so well. I was like, you know what? And this was a few weeks ago. I was like, I'm going to let this simmer. I don't want to see how the sausage is made. Cause sometimes, it'd be like watching Jaws and then 5 minutes later seeing like the behind the scenes, like you don't want to always see that. I wanted to be on the other side of it. And guys, I'm just blown away. It is so well done. Every character is just perfect, from Juliet. What's her name in this? Double Hammer.
Hammer
Girl. Yeah.
Hammer Girl. That is so perfect. Every little aspect of it. And now there were some things that hit me a little later. I'm sitting there going, why does this feel familiar? And I was like, wait, this feels like The Departed. So I'm sitting there going, and then suddenly I'm like, wait, this really feels like The Departed. Because then, like, the moment where the guy reveals to him that he was, he doesn't really reveal. It just, he figures out he was an undercover. He doesn't say it verbatim. There's that exact scene when Leonardo DiCaprio is going to, Jack Nicholson, and the guy's dying on the couch. I haven't seen that in a while. I own it, but it's a similar reveal moment. There's also the same aspect of him. And to be fair, Departed is based on, internal affairs or infernal affairs. How do you say it?
Yeah, infernal affairs.
And which is probably based on 10 other things. This isn't like this. Well, I just mean not all the twists and turns. I just mean the idea of the undercover going in. But something about this, I could feel, even if he wasn't thinking about it, a lot of The Departed was coming in for me. So,
yeah, I can see that.
But as I watched it, I wasn't thinking that. Just afterwards, just him trying to be undercover and talking to his superior about it, and just everything, every single thing was brilliant. Down to the little microphone that was perfect. Everything was so perfect. I do have to say, though, I'll let you guys guess. There is a slight critique that I don't know if I can really say it confidently, though. It's kind of like, I like my music metaphors. You know how you be mixing an album and you say to the guys, you know what? Oh, I don't like that. Like, no, change that back. And then they change it and you hear it. Like, no, you were right. That sounds like crap. Now put it back. This might alter it. But do you want to take a guess what I didn't love in this that they could change a little bit for me? I'm being very vague.
I can't even think. Oh, is it going to be something like interesting, like there's too many fight scenes?
You're very warm. It's not that.
Okay,
very warm. Okay. You hit it on the head partially, though.
Okay.
Take a stab, Dragon, or you just want me to tell you?
Anything to do with the fallen assassin? Did you find his okay?
Fallen assassin being
Yayan's character. So the
Procoso is his name in the film, I believe.
Yeah.
With the double little blades, you mean? Or
no. That's
with the machete in the club as well. He fights in the club.
Oh, you mean Mad Dog, the new version of Mad Dog?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. No, that we have to talk about that too. That's that backs up my idea of, I think that's why they maybe shouldn't have done it as a sequel as well. If you're going to have him come back, you know what I mean? But no, my issue is that the shaky cam. That's what I had the problem. Because in the first raid, when I would see it, it would then stabilize, right? And some people have issues with that. They get a little seasickness. Like there's, I love video games. There's more when they went to Oblivion and they had this camera that they called a vanity cam that people made mods to get rid of it. Cause it was like, when you would turn, it would zoom around and people were like, dude, that makes me sick. I don't get like sickness off it. So people made mods to fix that. What it was is I noticed it when they were fighting outside at the prison. Then I noticed it. And here's the weird thing. I think it wasn't just a guy shaking the camera. I think it was like a computer program. Do you know why I think so? Because the moment where the dad was slapping the spoiled son, he was slapping and beating him up. Every slap, it was doing it like
they used. I can interject. It's not a computer program. They used a thing called the Fig Rig, which is I think it's not as stable as a Steadicam, but it's a lot lighter and it's a lot more maneuverable. And it's basically like a metal circle with the camera gyroscopically held in the middle. So the operator has a choice of either locking the circle in place, so you can turn the camera and the camera lens will move. Alternatively, it can roll freely with a camera in a gyroscope in the middle. So they use it for a whole bunch of shots in this. They don't use it all the way through, but they do use it a lot. There's a lot of handheld stuff too. And a lot of times when they're literally just passing the camera around, we can get to that in the car chases. But they use the Fig Rig a lot for a lot of the action sequences because they can get really in very, very close. And you notice it when they go and see the creepy little dude who's running the kind of porn warehouse. And he there's the whole attempt when his guys try and get the better of him. There's a shotgun under the table and some beautiful shots leading up to that where he sees the reflection of the shotgun in the water, which is just chef's kiss. But there's a jump where the little guy runs across the table and jumps through the window and the camera follows him, right? And then pivots entirely to the side as he falls onto the ground. And those sort of shots work so well. And I've seen cinematographers especially have a tendency to like zone in on those sort of things. And by the time they got up to after the Fast and Furious movies kind of started getting good, so like is it number five or number
yep.
6, when it starts kind of really leaning into its kind of action elements, they start doing that a lot. There's like a scene when I think there's an interview sequence with The Rock interviewing someone, and he grabs him and he slams him off the ceiling and then lets him crash down to the ground. and they do that same thing where the camera goes up to the ceiling and then drops down to the floor, right? And it's a really it's become this sort of little shorthand thing that cinematographers can do to kind of basically inject the camera into the action a bit more. But
right.
I think some of the shakiness that you're talking about is the times when they were literally just the camera wasn't gyroscopically fixed in the middle. So when he's turning the fig rig, it's turning with him, and they would do that a lot to kind of sort of amplify certain hits in certain places.
Okay, so let's take that slap. Well, what it looked like to me is, let's say it had like it was on 2 tracks, and you'd have the steady like static shot, and then like an outer thing that was moving separately from what I was seeing. So when he slapped it, it wasn't like, what I mean is it didn't feel like that Jason Bourne like shaky like camcorder thing. It was like the slap was normal, but it felt like a separate thing they maybe added after, where the outer shaped, if you're following what I mean. But you're saying that's what it is, kind of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it gave an effect. I just felt that was a little overdone. I just wish you would have pulled it back a bit. But like I said, it could be wrong. Maybe it would lose some of the oomph on that, because I thought that prison scene was like chef's kiss. That prison scene, the overhead shots, all of it. It just something was, I could see that shakiness was always there on the hits, sometimes really angling and stuff. Did you notice more of that than the Raid? I thought the Raid kind of calmed down sometimes a little bit.
There's a lot more going on cinematography-wise in this movie. A lot more. Like, and I think a lot of it is because of the fact that they'd already done 2 movies by this point. So I think they were a little bit more confident with what they were doing, but also kind of wanted to push the envelope a little bit. Like, they're constantly trying a lot of new things, and some of them are really low-budget little techniques. Like the whole car chase is like a lesson on how to do spectacular stuff if you're more risk averse than a Hollywood crew would allow. Like a lot of the shit they're doing, insurance companies would have a meltdown if you told them what you were planning on doing. And it's really hard to see the joins. And I think there's some crashes with some of the motorbike riders and stuff where they're clearly using like dummies, but the joins are pretty incredible when they're when it's all pieced together. The car chase, I think, for me is maybe let's call it a car fight scene rather than a car chase scene, right?
Didn't Gareth bring in Bruce Law to do the vehicle stuff? Yeah. For those listening who don't know who Bruce Law is, he's basically the king of car action.
Hong Kong, right?
And Big Mike,
and
Big Mike. Big Mike, I think Big Mike Leader did a lot of casting, and I think was there for the whole of the car chase.
Really?
Yeah. And I think basically helped them because they were doing a whole bunch of. It is very, very Hong Kong, and in its staging of its action, and particularly in, I think he obsessed because Gareth Evans quite OCD about action, so he would literally go back to Jackie Chan movies that resonated with him, and he was literally breaking down every single fight scene that he really enjoyed down to a point of view of like, okay, this is how many shots they're taking from this angle, this is how many times they're cutting, this is basically this is the rhythm, this is the tempo of that particular fight. And so all of that they were injecting into this. And so you see it in the stunt work, you see it in some of the falls and some of the crashes that some of the stunt guys are taking, and some of them are brutal, just absolutely brutal.
I know.
When Mad Dog's character, is it Prokoso? Prokoso, thank you. When Prokoso, he kind of throws a guy over the top of the railing in the club, and he slams down into a breakaway table underneath, and then he sort of jumps down, and the guy's still like writhing about on the ground. It's very, very brutal. The stuff with the baseball bat, I still don't know entirely. No. It's crazy. When he's like lobbing baseballs at people with incredible accuracy, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't think they're CGI baseballs. I think they're just basically. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell.
The one in the corridor where it hits the glass and embeds in the glass. That's CG, right?
Yeah.
But the others, but I'm also like, is he that good of a shot? Like,
there's no. That's the other thing I sort of throw in. There was no like CG, like, because have you guys seen Gladiator 2, the recent movie?
Not yet.
You saw it, Shaun. I actually enjoyed that, but there was this CGI moment we talked about where they have, I guess, baboons come out, and it was so CGI that it took. I barely could get back on the tracks. It was like, oh, how could you let that pass? It's like,
And I saw a similar film recently, and it did the same thing to me, but not with CGI, with AI. There's a new film starring Justin Long. It's called Coyotes. It's a horror movie. It's actually quite an enjoyable film. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of low budget. It's silly, but it's a lot of fun. But at one point, I don't know why they chose to do it, but they zoom in on the coyotes and they're completely AI, and there's like AI fire all around them. It just snapped me right out of the film. I was like, oh my God, is this what we've come to? I've had a similar experience, but yes, Gladiator 2 did that to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I dug that movie, but that really stuck out,
Yeah, very odd.
So I do want to say I was really just blown away by this. So blown away that it kicked the doors open even more. But who knows? This is so high up. I mean, are things going to be able to live up to this? Like, because you guys,
but they're different.
Yeah,
right.
They're different.
Well, here's what it is.
Right.
I just want to say the trajectory, you guys tailored this so perfect for me. I'm going to do a mini intervention ranking here. Okay. So you guys with the movies. So my least favorite has been The Night Comes for Us.
Okay.
Then I saw The Devil, which I really liked, but that's kind of unfair a little bit. That's like almost a different style of movie.
Yeah. That's like a horror, more of a horror thriller. Yeah.
Right. I'm still like cringing at some of those razor moments. And then
did we ever talk about where he fucking batters that guy in the dick with a spanner in that film?
Oh, I'm sure we discussed that.
Because that's one of the most violent scenes in the film, and people don't talk about that. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, I don't want to lose which one.
Kind of. I mean, it's. I saw The Devil's South Korean.
Right.
And The Night Comes for Us, The Raid, and The Raid 2 are all Indonesian.
Okay, that makes sense. So then I have The Raid at number 2, which I still do love. And then The Raid 2, mind blown. I'm just completely mind blown. I think The Raid 1 would be better if they had been able to do this first. Because I feel like sequels sometimes, if the sequel was he had to go to a different boss and you already understand this whole like world better. That it'd be cool to just have him go up through this, and I thought that was cool. It's strange. There's something strange to me about The Raid and The Raid 2 in my mind, just thinking about it. It's like,
I mean, the Raid's so micro budget, and I think it's, it is the way it is because of the limitations that they had. So it has to be in one location because they can't afford to film in a bunch of different locations, and it's a relatively small crew and a relatively small cast, and it's all very contained, and it's the other big comparison to the first Raid film is really the Judge Dredd movie with Karl Urban, because they're both very similar in structure, but the Judge Dredd movie has a much bigger budget, and they're able to do an awful lot more visual effects, and they're able to kind of sell the idea of this insanely vast, much bigger, like super mega tower. Whereas the Indonesian one, you do feel like that's largely a real space that you're navigating around. And I just think that you're not wrong when you say it was kind of a tech demo, because that was the one that they largely used because they kind of wanted to do something because they couldn't get the funding to make what would become the Raid 2. And then he just tweaked the script to basically make Iko's character the same character that he was in the original Raid movie, the one that came out first, right? And so he didn't have to change a huge amount of the script. There's like the first scene, he brought back a couple of actors that weren't planned to be a part of the Raid 2, like the blonde kind of Western looking corrupt cop who gets shot really quickly at the beginning, and the other surviving member of the team that was there, and then you see him getting taken away by car at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, on that, did that guy not come back though? Because like I hadn't seen The Raid in a minute, and they'd like killed the guy, and I was like, oh wait, and I rewound. I was like, they really obscured that dude's face. I don't think he like showed up for that scene. Like you don't really get to see him. It doesn't seem like that actor was there when they killed that guy in the open.
Could be.
And
I think I mean, we should probably address the Raid 3 elephant in the room, because people are constantly, continually asking Gareth Evans to go back to this universe again, and I kind of hope that he doesn't. I think there's nothing that he could do in this world that would be able to match what they've done in the Raid 2. I think it's like, I can see his reluctance to. I think he was entertaining the idea for a while, and then ultimately he moved back to Wales, and that his career went off in a different direction. And he did that incredible first season of Gangs of London, which has arguably some set pieces in it that rival a lot of the stuff that he's done in the Raid 2.
Yep.
In only the first season, because he kind of got less involved in seasons 2 to 4, and it kind of became a little bit of a different show. I think that whoever was trying to push it in a very action-centric way wasn't involved anymore, basically. So it became more of a drama. Yeah. But that first season of Gangs of London, phenomenal. And I've got a lot of time for Havoc, as we've spoken about before. So
I watched it last week. I watched it again last week, and it's even better than the first time and second time. That film is fantastic. You have to watch it right, if that makes sense. You just don't watch it like it's not hard boiled.
Nor is it the Raid 2.
No, but it's Sin City. It's more in line with Sin City than it is with anything else, or in my opinion.
Yeah, completely. And I think sadly for Gareth Evans, he seems to have now been saddled with the pressure of not living up to what he delivered here. And I think I can see why he went off in really different directions. Like he made that kind of sort of folky horror movie with Dan Stevens.
He did, which is quite good. Apostle.
It's pretty good. And I think people were disappointed because that wasn't the Raid 2, and people were disappointed with Havoc because it wasn't the Raid 2. And I think it's a big cross to bear for him. And so I certainly hope that he doesn't give in to, I don't want to see in 20 years' time a 55-year-old Eco.
He's such a baby face. He probably looked 35 at that point. I'm telling you.
And he's still doing cool stuff. He's set up his own film studio, so he's working on a lot of projects. But
he's doing a brand new Silat film with Warrior. One of the guys that worked on Liam Odin's film, one of the Skyfall films. And he's doing a brand new Silat film. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. And his films that he's making for his own little production company, the trailers have looked pretty decent so far.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like obviously in the light of these films doing incredibly well, America came courting as it always does. They've always got an eye for talent, but he's really been horrendously underused in pretty much every single American production. I think the only one for me that in a sort of post Raid 2 world, I do quite like Triple Threat. Because it's a good sort of ensemble. It's a good ensemble cast movie, and that's him, Tony Ya, and Tiger Chen. Tiger Chen from Man of Tai Chi, and the three of them together with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White, and it's just a whole lot of fun. It's not like it's not the greatest movie in the world, but I think that's his best outside of Indonesia movie that he's been involved in. He's got a small part in Man of Tai Chi. And he's horribly
underused as well. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't get.
The Dragon. You're always good at pointing out that John. Well, that's more directors, but the John Woo effect of how you do great in your homeland, then America gets you here, and you have to go through this. Like, there was a couple other movies you pointed that out with the director too.
Well, Timo's going through it just now. Like Timothy Hanso, the director of The Night Comes for Us.
Okay, that's what it was. You were telling about who was the one he had to sit by Sam Raimi because they were.
Oh no, that's John Woo. That's the.
Oh, that was John Woo. But you were using that example when you were talking, I believe, about Timo. Parallels. But you're saying about Ico, similar thing. They put you. And didn't Joe? What was his name again from the Raid 1? Joe
Taslim.
Joe Taslim. Didn't he have the similar thing? Like he came over, but
Mortal Kombat movies, and he's also done quite a lot of interesting work in other places. Like he went over to Korea, and he made a phenomenal movie called The Swordsman.
Great move.
He's got a great turn as a villain in that movie, and he does a really, really good job in that film. I really, really like Joe Taslim, but he's another one who's legitimately very, very skilled. And The Night Comes for Us, he doesn't really get to do the thing that he's really good at doing. Like he's, it's because I kind of don't feel that Timo's that interested in martial arts as much as he's interested in action. So his
and gore and some gore in there.
Because he came from a horror background. Like he was making horror movies before he was making action movies, and he's made Nobody 2, and he's about to make The Beekeeper 2, and he's currently the guy that they're reaching out to. I really hope he returns back to The Shadow Strays, and The Shadow Strays is the one that I'd like.
He's been hinting at it.
Yeah,
he's been hinting, because
I think it's interesting hearing your ranking where I think you understand why you enjoy the Raid movies more than The Night Comes for Us. I kind of like them both almost equally, but for very different reasons.
No, I respect that. Yeah,
I think The Night Comes for Us is not really, it's not really a martial arts movie as much as it's like a kind of all out kind of thriller with a lot of action elements and gore elements to it, where it's not, he's much more concerned with the visceral nature of stuff than he is about people pulling off moves in a really skillful way. He'll put skilled people in the movies sometimes. So I think Julia Stiles come a long way. The scenes that Julia Stiles gets to, like Hammer Girl, the scenes that she gets to do in The Night Comes for Us are much more, she's able to do much more complicated choreography, and she's portrayed as a very different character. So she's much more of a capable operator in The Night Comes for Us.
But I enjoyed her more in this, though, strangely. I guess because it was anchored by, I cared more. Do you know what I mean? I understood more. What it is, there is that effect in a lot of these movies. They introduce this gang, but when they were introducing those gangs in that one, it just felt, I think I have to give that one another watch to give it a chance better, because here's the other thing. If you'll follow me on this, like when you go to watch a horror movie, like I didn't really like, I've said a few times, like Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills. I like the Halloween, the first one of that series, because I felt like the kills were just so over the top. But it didn't actually like make me cringe, right? It just was like, it just felt like such overkill. But when you watch horror movies with that, like ripping a jaw off and all of that, when you go in knowing what you're getting into, it just, you're kind of conditioned for it. But if you watch another movie that's like a drama or something with no action, you could just have a punch to the mouth and it hits you really hard because you weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I noticed in this is he pulled it back a little bit, the gore. There's more gore in the Raid 1. There's those moments where he stabs the heart like 1,000,000 times or something at that one moment. I like that. I felt it kind of, it's not that I couldn't handle the heart being stabbed or I couldn't I don't know. There were some moments in I Saw the Devil where I was kind of like cringing. It's just like, I can't remember, like cutting Achilles' heels and these different things, and that's the effect they want. They want you to feel that way. In this, it just was so perfect. I could tell it didn't feel like he was going for a PG-13 rating or something. I mean, there was moments, the shotgun blast looked like a real, like gore, like war, like shotgun.
The baseball
blast.
bat to the face as well.
I know, but somehow I feel like the Raid 1 would be closer for that hit. He had it down the end of the hallway, further away. So I felt, I don't know if I want to say it was more classy. It was just, I guess what it is that there's different issues I had with The Night Comes for Us. I've said this to Shaun. I felt their hit points were too high. Like you get your arms cut off your neck, you're getting hit with a machete, and then an anvil comes down here, and then the killer they stabbed that guy in the throat, he ripped it out, and the guy talked afterwards. It's like, well, if they're like, these Highlander gods or what, if they can just go for 1,000,000 years. And Shaun had a good, not rebuttal, but you said you like that because it makes you wonder what's going to finally like kill this, it's like stamp out the roach. I like, and that's a good point. I guess it's just what it is when it feels grounded. In this, I was like, oh, I'm like waiting. It just felt very real, very, very real. And I loved the choices. I loved, let me get his name right. Let's see here, Artifin Putra. I thought he was perfect as a spoiled brat. I thought he was perfect. I liked how, I think what it was is they didn't make him be a martial artist, that him and Aiko would have the big showdown, which would be in a lot, because that would mean bringing in a martial artist who maybe his acting chops. This guy was really good actor and really great, and his father too. My gosh. I mean, they were awesome together. The acting was so good, but I liked how they had him go up against the guy in the kitchen. And that was like the real finale. And then when they went out there, I loved all the twists and turns. I loved how it was. Explain this little plot point to me. When that guy made him kill those guys, the guys in the prison, he didn't get revenge on, of the other gang with the X-Acto knife. And he saw on the guy, I can't remember his neck or his arm, he saw that.
He realized he'd been played. So basically the guy.
Well, I'm saying before he saw it on the end guy, when he saw it on the guy he was killing, right? Remember earlier. Explain that. When he saw it on the guy, that there's something I didn't understand there. Why would the guy sacrifice his own guys? I guess because he didn't care.
Which guy?
I mean, the guy, the villain with the, I can't remember his
with the sunglasses.
Yes, him.
Benjo?
He saw, yes. When he saw his tattoo on him, it's the same tattoo he had saw on the guy that guy had him kill all those guys in the lobby, in the restaurant.
Yeah, well, basically, I think the guys he was killing in the restaurant was almost like a kind of gift to him in that moment to basically like almost sweeten the deal, because they were guys that turned on him, or so he thought, in prison. They were guys that were at one point part of his gang. When he was in prison, when he was basically...
see, that's what I thought. These were an opposing gang. He never got to like get revenge on.
No, because like if you remember right back to the beginning, when there's the scene when Nico's in the prison and he's sitting inside the toilet cubicle, and that you're watching the door rattling more and more, and the screws coming out, and then he fights all those dudes, right? Then when he goes to kind of have food, and the bratty son comes to speak to him, he's basically coming to speak to him because Iko's just beating up all of his guys. So the guy who he kills later on, he's sitting at the table eating food, and you can see his nose is all busted up.
Right.
And that's the last guy that he kills. And he kills in the nastiest way. Like he doesn't just cut his throat clean. He like he makes it so he's going to bleed out, right? Because but when he sees the tattoo on that guy, he realizes in that moment that he's been totally played by, I think it's Bijo, right?
Bijo,
and because Bijo's basically just been like a chess player, has been moving all these pieces around, ultimately to manipulate him into killing his own dad. Because he's like, I think his dad's the threat, right? His dad's the kind of the guy who's been able to rule part of the city for so long, and his son's so desperate for power that I think Bijo recognizes that he can basically use the kid to ultimately take out the father. And I think once the kid realizes he's been played in that moment, when he realizes, okay, these guys that I thought at one point were on my team but then turned against me, they were always on Bijo's team. They were always basically people that he'd...
Okay. So he knew... what I thought it was is just seeing that tattoo. They really did make a moment of it when you first see it. And then it actually made you feel like he was going to like give mercy to him. They like really... Well, no, I'm saying like it was extended that maybe there's a chance he was going to do something different. Or I'll say it a different way. He killed all the guys, then he saw the tattoo, and it's a bit of a wait until he kills them. I thought maybe the guy was going to get up and have a fight or something. Like,
like a dramatic pause.
Yeah, there's a pause, like you said. And him seeing that tattoo, I didn't know what it meant, but I thought when he saw the tattoo on the, how do you say it, Bijo?
Yeah.
When he saw it on him, I thought that was the crazy moment. You're saying they're both kind of like shocking moments to him? When he's
to a certain extent. What's more... I think it's just him starting to work out what's actually happened. In fact, he's kind of been played, right? So he's been played into ultimately taking out his own father, because his father, I don't think his father was like, the way that the movie presents it, his father wasn't like a really bad dude to the son. Like, I think he was genuinely trying to like, at some point maybe let him take the reins, but all the conversations the father has... He was
just keeping him in check, really, just making sure he didn't go off the rails.
I think he was aware that his kid had this ambition that might, if he didn't temper it or learn how to deal with it, he was going to fuck things up for himself. Because he speaks to Iko about that more. Like there's a couple of scenes when Iko goes out, when they're dumping the body of the little porn master into the river, and Iko's basically told, like, keep an eye on him, basically, and keep an eye on him to tell me if he's starting to stray, if he's starting to do anything that he shouldn't be doing. And I thought
he had that little parable he kept saying. He brought it up. He said, I can't remember. Yeah, it was kind of like a sleep with the fishes type of Godfather line.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the kind of police corruption bit is the only thing that they didn't really fully have the time to pad out. So there's a couple of things that I don't know if I caught the first time that I saw them, where there's corrupt cops come after Iko at one point, and he phones up his handler and he's like, why the fuck are police attacking me? And he's saying, like, no, you got to stay the course, and this just shows that we're kind of on the right path.
That was strange. Yeah, when he was getting in the Uber or in the taxi, right?
Yeah, because he finds the police badge, right? And
something
the
missing
guy
a little bit there.
The guy they're meeting at the end, who's basically saying, if I like what you say, I'll stay for dessert. That was basically the senior police guy who gets killed at that table, right? So he was like the head of the very corrupt side of the police, and the guy in the little bucket hat, who was kind of Iko's handler, was the small team that was railing against the police corruption. So that was the only element of a quite labyrinthian plot that I felt they didn't spend a huge amount of time. Yeah. So
when I saw him at the table.
Yeah.
When I saw him at the table, it'd been so long, I couldn't remember where I'd seen him earlier. Because you definitely saw him earlier. I know what you mean. Like, it needed to have him in the middle for a moment or something to kind of connect the dots.
But I don't think it needs it. I think he kind of expects the audience to be able to kind of keep up. And I think the things that you don't catch in the first watch, you catch on.
I agree.
And at this point, I've probably seen it about 20 times now. And so I still, there's still things that I sometimes wonder, would it be nice if it was a little bit longer? But it's already a pretty long movie. Doesn't feel like it when you're watching it, but he packs a lot in, and it spans quite a long time period. Like Eco's in prison for like 3 fucking years, I think, at the beginning of the movie. There's this massive time jump, and like if you blink too long, or you go away to get a drink or whatever, when that title card flashes up that says 3 years later, you would think that he's got out of jail pretty quick. But the whole point is he's kind of being fucked over from the get-go by this plan for his easy entry into the underworld, right? It's taken him a long time, like 3 fucking years of slogging away in prison before he gets out, and then kind of goes to meet with the father and then has to kind of deal with everything else that comes.
I want to watch it again. I'm going through it all. The rewatch value. It's like sometimes huge. Sometimes a 2.5 hour movie, you could love it, but it's like you're not going to watch it tons of times the rest of your life. You got the effect. This, even this little SIM card, and he had it in his mouth. Like I said, it had more. It's strange to say an X factor, because when you hear Gareth and all that, everything's very thought out. There's no real happenstance. But I guess what it is, and I talk about Tarantino a lot. Some people say that when his editor sadly died, that his movies, they kind of lost a little bit of like his, because if you watch like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a very long movie, it doesn't have those long beats of dialogue, it doesn't have it like that. And some people think, well, it's not always. There are examples of it having that after that editor died, but they just say
Sally Menke.
Yes, sadly. Yeah, she sadly died. She went out hiking in Griffith Park in Los Angeles, and it was such a hot day, and her friend, it was so hot, said goodbye, and they found her later. It was horrible. I think.
Jesus.
Yeah, so sad. I think her last one was Inglourious Bastards, was the last one she edited.
I just heard a story about her from the most unlikely source that I'll tell you now, because this feels like a good time to tell you.
Yeah.
I was working my way through the special features on Arrow's new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, good man.
Set, right? Yes. And there's an interview with the director of the first Turtles movie, and he was speaking about the fact that one of the editors on the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is Sally Menke. Like, she was one of the ones that edited that film, right? And he said he met her. He went to like a BAFTA Awards or something, and he heard someone calling his name and turned around, and it was her, and she was with Quentin Tarantino. And the two of them came up, and Sally Menke, I hadn't seen him for years, so was kind of like just getting reacquainted. And Tarantino was like, I hired her because she was the one that made Leonardo look good fighting, right? So I think, which was pretty wild, given the relationship that they had. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, I like hearing that, because she had that effect where it's kind of like, I was watching this Seinfeld interview. He was on something, and he was talking about how, a comedian, if he does an hour and 10 minutes, the audience can love you to death. But if you go to an hour and a half, they can be like, oh, they sometimes it's, and he said, it's like, sometimes you can have too much cake. It's like, that's what I mean about the X factor. It's like he hit it right on the head of the needle, that if a scene's too long, I'd rather a scene be too long for me than too short, though. Sometimes, like when scenes are just, when they try to be so snappy and stuff, like I liked Uncut Gems, but that's like a different end of things I usually like. That was really like breakneck, and you want to feel like kind of anxious. They wanted the audience to feel that way, and that worked. I just thought this had perfect pacing. Every scene, it's just the editor. I guess I keep saying the editor. That's what's strange. I mean, Gareth, his vision was just so perfect. He nailed it in a way. I mean, this, to me, this is like, I don't know, like, I haven't read too much of the community talking about this, but my vibe was that people tend to, I think Dragon said this earlier, like the Raid one more. Yeah. I personally can't wrap my head around that, because and also as I've gotten older, I need that story. I need the want to care. I got to the point that the fight scenes almost felt a little secondary. If the fight scenes weren't in this, it would still work amazingly. And that's the point. That's the magic, I think. Yeah, that's, because once you interject, or once you put in those scenes, that kitchen scene, which was amazing, we got to talk about that. But I mean, once I got to the extras, Gareth talking about how he choreographed that, or he wanted the whole movie, but they had that choreographed fully, and he only had to change a couple things. That's like a masterpiece. That was in that kitchen. that reminded me of the kitchen in The Night Comes For Us, because that was one of the scenes I really liked in that butcher kitchen. At the beginning, it was kind of like, have I been here before? Like that's a cool backdrop, because there's that. You remember in The Night Come For Us, obviously, there's
like the tile kind of the wall. Yeah.
I think it's nice because it's like because blood's coming. It's a good juxtaposition when you have this incredible white, and it's like, man. And that guy, what's that actor's name? Do you know offhand? The one in the kitchen,
C-Chep, or
okay, you had mentioned
C-Chep or C-Chep. He's like legitimately a seal master, right? And I think is still kind of teaching. Did you recognize him from John Wick 3? Because he's one of the two, like Dacascos' character in John Wick 3. Dacascos was like a last-minute replacement for Haruki Sanada, who was meant to be that part, and then they brought Haruki back for John Wick 4, but he torn his ACL, I think, and so he at the last minute had to step out. And so Dacascos came in the last minute and stepped into that role, and I fucking love his part. It's one of my favorite Dacascos roles. He's great. Is Zero in John Wick 3, but he has sort of two other sushi chefs at his little sushi stand, right? His cat-filled sushi stand.
Maybe that's what it was, because when I saw him in the scene with Yaoyan Ruyan, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
We have to discuss that scene too. But when he's kind of just like about to die, and they show him Sikek, is that how you say it?
CSEP.
When they show him standing out there in that snow, maybe that's what it was. I'd seen him before. He has that look to him, like, even without trying, like, don't mess with this guy. He has like a intimidation factor. Man, that whole scene, they threw me for a second with Mad Dog, because I hadn't seen The Raid in a while. I was like, wait, he died. Like, why is he so haggard? And like, why is he looked like a caveman or something in this? I mean, his hair was so long. I was just like, wait, did he go off into the wilderness? I mean, and then I just realized that he was playing a different character.
Yeah. And I love his character. I think it's almost like a great little exercise, seeing how much he can get you to invest in someone with so little. Because
it's a mini movie.
It really is.
It's like separate from the film. I don't know. Basically, the whole Precoso thing, he could either take out or leave in my opinion. But the good thing is he left it in, because it is fantastic. I just think it adds overall to just the general fullness of the film, of all the characters. I don't know. It just works really well.
Yeah, everyone's really fleshed out.
That's what I ask you. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what the night. I feel bad. Keep going. The Night Comes For Us. I guess because it has the similar characters and it has some similar moments. But The Night Comes For Us tried to do what Gareth did here in moments. Like, didn't give you a ton of backstories and stuff, but it didn't give enough. But somehow in this, maybe because I was so invested, him just looking at his locket and seeing. Now he had met with his daughter, but was that his wife or his daughter in the locket?
I think that's meant to be his ex. Well, inside the locket is his son.
Yeah, his son.
Yeah,
okay.
And the son he's wanting to be able to see again, because he hasn't seen since he was a kid. But he meets his wife in the restaurant and gives her the money. Like, it's basically him paying his
I
child
thought that was
support.
His daughter. No. Maybe because he looks so like
he looks so fucked up. I think she sort of even says, she's got a line of saying like she can't believe how much he's changed.
Fallen off or something. Yeah, how he looked. Okay, I did catch it. I guess I missed the moment. I guess in my mind couldn't wrap around the fact like he looked like 30 years older than her at that
she
moment.
Seems so glamorous, right? I know. But I think like that's part of it, and that's him dressed up to try and look his best. Like, he's wearing like a suit jacket. Your heart just breaks from, man, because he seems like a really. I know that he's a assassin, mass murderer, but he seems like a good dude, right?
No, he does. But that's what I was asking is that what do you think it is that you can have so little that it worked, and it like Shaun said, it's like a mini and others try to nail it, and it makes me go away saying, oh, I need more substance. I guess it's just kind of like
there's also we should maybe say like where they're made for. So like I think the Raid 2 was 100% made with a theatrical release in mind. The Night Comes For Us is a Netflix movie. And with all that comes along. And I don't know if
you're right.
I know you listened to Rogan. I don't know if you caught Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on Rogan recently.
Yeah, I did. Right?
I did. And Affleck was a little bit wired on all over the place, but I always really like listening to Matt Damon. I think he seems like a really down to earth, good, solid, really interesting dude. Like he's anytime you hear him speak about filmmakers he's worked with, because he's worked with some absolute giants, but he's talking about them making their new movie, The Rip, for Netflix, and basically all the things that Netflix would remind them of. And they basically were saying like stuff like, you have to make sure that you reinforce the plot 8 or 9 times to deal with the fact that people will be looking at their phones in the middle of watching, right? So they're kind of having to deal with a modern attention span. And I think it's really interesting seeing the stuff that other areas of Netflix have produced, because I think there's a lot more freedom in Asian Netflix. So a lot of the best stuff that Netflix has produced has come out of Korea or come out of Indonesia or come out of Japan. They seem to be a lot more hands-off than they are domestically, so back in the US. But The Night Comes for Us was still largely funded by Netflix, as most of Timo's Indonesian movies have been, actually. Like, with the exception of Headshot, which I think was made with a cinema release in mind. And maybe we'll get to Headshot at some point, because that's a really good example of Iko getting to do a little bit more acting wise, and also still some great action. It's great. I love Headshot. Yeah. And it's also got Julia Stell in it as well. She's in that one too.
She's great in it.
But the progression that kind of goes on when you kind of watch, I think we'll definitely at some point we have to do the Shadow Strays, which is I think the other big kind of Timo action movie that I really love. I've got a lot of love for The Big Four, but it's a very different type of movie. The Big Four is his other Netflix movie, and that's like really bombastic comedy action, right? So it's going for laughs as much as it's going for the wince factor that he was going for in The Night Comes for Us, and to a certain extent in The Shadow Strays as well. But he's a really interesting filmmaker. But I think they are very different. So kind of films made for streaming do always have a slightly different feel, and for some, they sometimes feel a little bit less than things that have been made with a cinema release in mind. I can't quite always zone in on exactly why that is, because they certainly have the budgets. And
one thing you just said there was the other thing that they said on that Matt Damon interview is that he said that they even were so exaggerated. They say, oh, this entire ending with explosions and all this stuff, we need that at the opening 30 seconds. They went at the beginning because they need that hook. Like, I recently was watching, I got Paramount Plus to be able to watch the UFC, which is so cool that it's on there now. But so I was like, well, what else is here? And everyone's talking about this Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. So I started watching it. It's good, but I can feel like they had the explosion at the end. And it's similar to like in Breaking Bad, where they had to, and I think they wanted to show in Breaking Bad him has his badass side, whether he's walking away, there's an explosion. I just think what it is like, I guess if you did like stats or polls, there's a part of the audience, if you don't get that hook in them, they're going to like fall off even up to episode 2. So it's like the Sopranos thing. Sopranos was good. They would have a cliffhanger, but they would let some episodes just kind of breathe because it's a different era. They didn't have to have the like explosion at the end of every episode, or, in this. And I get it. If you're ever going to have it, you probably should have it at the beginning and the end. But I think maybe that's a little bit of the effect why I feel like there's some meat off the bone in The Night Comes for Us, where they're showing these gangs, but I'm not sure why I should care enough yet, And this, when they showed the gang when Juliet came in, I just thought she seems maybe a little more peripheral. Like, she's not like as like well developed, because it's kind of maybe a little bit just the hammers is kind of what it is. But the whole, here's what it is I cared about the bosses more. And that made the underlings matter more to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Japanese boss is so great in this. His acting, he's
a phenomenal actor. Yeah.
Phenomenal. The father is amazing. And, and that's what I felt in that. And I feel bad. I'm not knocking these movies. I guess I'm just saying that I felt in The Raid, even when I saw that guy at the beginning, he felt just a little weaselly, and I just felt he wasn't the strongest like villain, that little like drug lord up there,
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe there's a tie-in comic book to The Raid 2 that fleshes out Hammer Girl and Baseball Bad Boy. It reveals that they are brother and sister, how they got their disabilities, and it kind of delves more into their past. I kind of like that they did that. But yeah, I'm kind of with you in that some characters do feel, I guess, what you'd call light, in that they may not, their pasts may not be delved into, but I also think they're just cool as hell, and they just really, really work. And I like that. I like that Gareth Evans knows when to give you meat on the bone, and hey, you need to know a lot more about this character. But hey, then I have this guy who just has a baseball bat and just can, beat the heart of anyone. And I really, really like that. And I think that that is one of the strengths of the Raid 2, because a film like, let's say, I don't know, Ong Bak or The Protector, or even The Night Comes for Us, maybe. I think it's maybe easy to, with those films, fast forward through the dramatic parts just to watch the fight scenes. Like some people do. I do it for some films. But I think the Raid 2, if I saw that this was on, or that I threw it into the Blu-ray player, I wouldn't fast forward anything. I would put this film on with the intention of watching it from start to finish, and I think that just speaks to its strengths. It's as a organized crime kind of epic story, it just works really, really well.
Is that your move instead of? See, I never ever do that. I would turn it off. But you mean if you still want to give a movie a chance, kind of, you'll fast forward occasionally?
No, there's. I know what you mean, Shaun. Like, there are some things that there are certain sections in that you want to re-see, but you don't necessarily want to sit through the whole movie to get to that little section you want to see.
Okay, so you mean like the ones you've seen, not like the first time.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there are sometimes, I'll put in a film like, oh my God, I had the funniest film in my head, but I can't remember the name. Jiu-Jitsu. Remember that film with Nick Cage where he was fighting a ninja?
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that.
I don't think I've ever seen that. No.
Oh, no. It's honestly, look it up. It's one of the worst films. It's basically Predator, but Predator's a space ninja.
Oh my God.
And Nicolas Cage is like basically Highlander.
Okay, now I'm following you. Yeah. And so sometimes you just want to get to the action sequences on something like that.
Exactly.
Yes. No, you're making sense now.
It has is it Alan Moosey? I don't know how to say his last name. Alan Moosey was in some of the later Kickboxer films. It has him in it as well. And films like that you put on, you're just like, this is garbage. What are the fight scenes like? And you'll get to the fight
fair
scenes.
enough. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that with a film like this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Hopefully no one's judging me out there and like, oh, he fast forwards. He doesn't even watch films. Check out this motherfucker.
No, Dragon was clear, but you're saying like on a rewatch sometimes if you're like...
Yeah, 100%. Like I did Fat Samurai versus stream last week, and there was a 3-movie kind of matchup. Normally it's just 2 movies. So there was 3 movies that I had to watch, and it was Jackie Chan's City Hunter, which for me is quite an easy watch, even though there's still a lot of that movie that is not great, but when it's between the fights, it's very, very
musical number. You're not a fan of the musical number?
No, that might maybe slightly skim past. But the other 2 films were Van Damme's Street Fighter and Corey Yun's DOA, and both of those 2 movies were. I was very aware of the passage of time when I was sitting down to kind of work my way through those 2. So yeah, I 100% get it, Shaun. There's not every single film can be a masterpiece, sadly.
No.
And some films do have amazing things in them.
Here's the question. On the Raid 2, 20 times in, you've watched it 20, no fast forward there? I mean,
no.
Oh, yeah.
I even consciously made sure that I left my phone in a different room.
My man.
So like, because I'm all in. And I think it's one that I just absolutely adore it. It doesn't really kind of set a foot wrong, and it is difficult now not to judge everything else that Gareth Evans does against it. And I think that's something that I try not do, because I think it's really unfair to him, and it's really unfair to the other things that he's made, because they're all different projects. And so I think it sort of sits out on its own as this really random instance of a Welshman directing a movie entirely in Indonesian with little bits of Japanese and a tiny smattering of English in places, but for the most part, all in a language that's not his own. And so even just to make the dramatic scenes work the way that they do, that alone is a phenomenal accomplishment. Like, I can't imagine, I can barely speak English. The idea of going over and trying to make something in a different language and have it be coherent and be able to judge the performances and know that, like, okay, we've got it in the can, or having the confidence to know, okay, for just the dramatic scenes, I know that he's obviously has a huge amount of help when it comes to doing the action stuff, but I still think he's largely the architect of how things are going to go.
I believe so.
And so I think he's been really lucky that he kind of found the people that he did in Indonesia when he was based across there, to be able to kind of create the 3 movies that they did over there. So like I think Moranto is them kind of finding their feet. I think the Raid is them frustrated that they can't make what would become the Raid 2 and wanting to just do something because they've got this crew assembled. And thank God that they did, because I absolutely adore the Raid, and nothing that we're saying here should be a slight against it. If you prefer the Raid over the Raid 2, I don't agree with you, but I respect your opinion. But for me, his absolute masterpiece really is The Raid 2. And I think nothing that he's done post that has managed to kind of get up to these sort of heights. But they've all done interesting things in a different way.
Well, that happens to a lot of people. I mean, when you have a masterpiece, it's a good problem to have. You know, if I'm saying, you know, because I feel like this is edging out John Wick 3 for me now. I mean, but it's good to have both. You don't need to always compare. I mean, I think they're both in that upper stratosphere of just unbelievable action / martial arts movies. You know?
And it doesn't all mean that there's really, it's fun to kind of make kind of best of lists and stuff, but it's not, none of these things are definitive, and all these things ultimately just come down to our opinion, and our opinions are all a fluid thing. So there's like your perspective on things totally change. It's why one of the things we always go out of our way to do when we do this, particularly for not so much on this one for you, Jason, but for when we're looking at a film that we've seen a long time ago and we've watched it again for the podcast, right? And often our opinions have slightly changed or slightly evolved into different things, right? And so I think a lot of it is the mood you're in when you go down to sit to watch the thing, and how primed you are for it, how hungry you are for that thing, and that's not a static, fixed thing. So I think
absolutely
all these things. I like the fact that these movies exist, period. So I think it's fun to kind of rank them against each other, but ultimately I'm just happy that we live in a world where The Raid 2 and The Night Comes for Us and John Wick 3 all exist, and we get to kind of revisit them, right?
Yeah, I was watching an interview with Gareth Evans earlier, and the interviewer asked him, how do you keep besting? How do you keep besting action? Like, how do you get better than the last person's film? And how do you beat your own films over time and keep going year after year? And Gareth Evans just goes, you don't. You just make good action. He's like, you don't always have to do the best action film ever, or you don't have to be, you know, the better film of these 2 films or 3 films or his top 10 list. He's like, just make good action. And he brings up all these little points that what makes shitty action. And he's talking about like close-ups and it's some like overt shaky cam. I know he uses it as well, but he uses it quite well. But he's talking about a bunch of things. But he's at the end of the day, he's like, we don't have to pit films against each other. Just make good action. And hey, I'm all for that. I think that's a great way to lead.
Is that a bad time to ask you which one you prefer? The Raid?
Do you know what? It's easy for me. All in all, I think The Raid 2 is by far the better film. And I would say, I legitimately mean by a mile. And I love
it's not even close. I don't think it's close.
No, I think. Thank you. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think you said that, but I think we're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I think it works on so many more levels in terms of it's got a much more complex, pretty sophisticated plot that actually works. Like that kind of has you interested. Like you say, you could take out the action in this and it would work just fine. It would stand up alongside The Departed or Infernal Affairs as a great undercover cop movie, right? But it has all the action beats in it and excels so well at them, and they're always character, environment, and story driven. So they're never the same choreography, really. Each scene is kind of driven by what's going on with the characters who are in it in that moment, and that's when action's at its best. I think it's always more electrifying when the action's inextricably linked to character, and I think the reason that the John Wick movies have worked so well is because they're quite simple in regards to how they're presenting this character and how he delivers action. And I think that's a perfect storm in its own little way. And maybe we'll do the one or all of the John Wick movies on the pod at some point, and we can kind of get into them more. But Keanu Reeves is kind of like the perfect. It's very hard to look at John Wick and think, okay, could you put in another actor and have those movies work as well? And I don't think you could. I think it'd be very difficult for them to work because there's a weariness to Keanu Reeves at the age that he is now that works so well for that character. Absolutely. There's a beat in The Dark Knight that I fucking love. It's one of my favorite Batman moments. It's not a big action moment, but it's just after Christian Bale. It's really close to the beginning when he's gone to bust up the Scarecrow's crazy parking lot drug deal that he's doing, right? And he's got some sort of gadget that lets him grab hold of the van. And he's like sort of rips through the side of the van slightly.
Yes.
But then he gets knocked off the van because the van drives too close to a concrete pillar, right? And he gets slammed onto the ground. And he gets up and walks to the edge and then jumps off the edge and lands on top of the van. but how fucking weary he is when he gets up from being knocked off the concrete post, and is like, you can feel the weight of everything that he's doing on his shoulders in that moment. And he's not fighting anyone in that moment, but I fucking love it. It's just like his exhaustion, but then getting up and still jumping off the edge and crashing. Like that little beat,
hears you kind of, yeah,
because you feel the characters, kind of the fact that they're overcoming insurmountable odds just to stand up.
Nobody
again
does it as well.
Yeah.
The film Nobody, that does it well. Yeah, that does it well. I mean, I know they're not. I love Nobody, and I recently rewatched Nobody 2, and I actually really enjoyed that as well. I didn't love it first time around. I kind of just thought it was okay, but the second time I was like, oh yeah, this is fun as hell. And I love his overall weariness throughout the entire. He's a badass, but he's just like, oh god, do I have to do this? It's great. Yeah. It adds a human element to everything.
Yeah, on one of my favorite moments is in The Dark Knight Rises, in the third one, which people don't always love. That was filmed in Pittsburgh.
I like it.
Yeah, it's filmed in Pittsburgh, here, my hometown, and I've often said that the training sequences are like my favorite, be it like Rocky IV or be it 150 Shaw Brothers movies. I just love, and you get that crescendo at the end. It's just the training is like, I live for that. And when he is now I haven't seen it in a while, I saw it in the theater, but when he is in that like prison and he has to climb up that well or out of that wall, up that just was like, I was feeling like Shaw Brothers. I was like, this is like a Shaw Brothers movie. This is so perfect. And that really made me love that movie. I just was like, that whole sequence, that was almost like a movie within the movie. You could feel the chapter in a book, like him trying to go up that wall. And I was like, man, and just, Christian Bale, that whole thing. And strangely, I wouldn't say that. Batman Begins is my favorite, and I do think Dark Knight is probably better than the third one. They're just great together. Who cares, But
I just see them as one big, massive movie.
For me, this strangely, I don't know why I wasn't as over the moon for Heath Ledger as the Joker. Everyone was just like, "Oh my God, he's the best." I don't know. I don't know. I thought Jack Nicholson was better. Did you
like Bane? Were you a fan of Bane?
It was cool. He was good. Yeah, I mean it was hard to hear him. I think they had to go back and they had to fix. Did you hear about that? They had to fix. No, he was cool. Bane was good. There's so many memes made of you. You've seen him sing into a microphone and stuff. It's hard to sometimes separate.
I love Bane. He's great.
He's phenomenal. That's one of my favorite Tom Hardy performances, because it's wonderful. It's so fucking ocular, because he only really has his eyes to to kind of emote and perform with it. And I think that and Bronson are the two kind of Tom Hardy things that I think he's been just spread. Actually, that's a bit unfair. He's great in Taboo as well. If you guys have seen his series Taboo.
Joe, I've never seen Taboo.
Oh man, Char, you would love it. You would love it. And the guy, there's an actor whose name is Jonathan. Fuck, I'm blanking on his surname. He's like an older actor now. He was in Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
I'm not gonna.
It's Jonathan. He was a villain in a Bond movie.
You're on your own with this one, Dragon. You're on your own.
2 cents, boys. Jonathan Pryce, right? Older British actor, but he's it's largely about the East India Trading Company, and this guy comes back who's got a claim to. Essentially, he has the means to potentially kind of fuck up their kind of racketeering and profiteering that they're doing at that point in time in British history. And he, as the series progresses, becomes more and more of a thorn in the side of the East India Trading Company, and Jonathan Pryce is leading it. But his character, like Tom Hardy's character, is called Delaney. And as the series goes on and on, Jonathan Pryce just gets more and more annoyed at this thorn in his side, to the point where he just starts referring to him as "fucking Delaney." It's very entertaining, and I think you would both enjoy it very much. As long have I waited for a season 2 of that show, because it's great. And Tom Hardy has maybe his scripts for each episode must legitimately maybe be 8 words per episode. It's a series of grunts and it's a very gruff performance, similar to a little bit to what he did in Peaky Blinders. But anyway, tune back in next time for the Tom Hardy podcast.
Shaun, when you said Nobody there, though, Bob Odenkirk's one of my favorites. Better Call Saul. I love Better Call Saul. I on some days like it more than Breaking Bad, because I went into. Have you guys watched Better Call Saul all the way through or seen it?
No,
I'm gonna admit I gave up on it. I didn't love it.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that.
I've not even started it. I've seen all of
okay.
Breaking Bad, but I've yet to.
It just didn't grab you too much on it.
It honestly didn't. It just didn't grab me, and it didn't grab my wife either. We were just like, okay, well, maybe try this another day.
No, yeah, what it is it's nothing. It is obviously his character from Breaking Bad, but doesn't have the drug plot and all that. It is just the characters just get into you so much that you are just so invested in them that they can, as they say, like read the phone book by the end of it. They do anything. You're just like, I just want to see it because you're just in that world, you know?
Right.
Maybe similar to The Wire or something, you got to give it that like a little bit longer, you know, because I've had people yell at me. The Wire is one I really like the first season. But it took me a few tries, and then like the second season, it just I don't know.
It slows down.
It only had one.
Good again later on. Though.
That's what I mean. I got to go back. You know, maybe we'll do a trade. You go back to Better Call. I'll go back to. I heard The Wire.
I need to rewatch The Wire though. I need to rewatch it.
Okay, what's your? You live around there, kind of. That's like kind of where you're living.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm not that far. A little drive to Baltimore. Yeah, I've never been in that area, thankfully.
Boy, that one feels dated nowadays. Not just like the 4.3, just like, you know, because you see The Departed now and just the flip phones. Of course, that's going to be dated. But something about The Wire, just even how it's filmed a little bit, it's kind of like the opening has like just that HBO period kind of, you know, back then. But it still has a lot of charm. I love that main actor is the cop and everything.
Yeah.
You know, he has that weariness. He's sleeping on like a whatever blow up mat. You know, he has that like
McNulty.
Yeah, the main guy. Yeah. He has that down and out. Like I can't remember. I just remember his apartment. He had a blow up mattress and like.
Oh, he's just scummy. He's a scummy cop.
Well, I'm going to ask you guys real quick. So, what's like a highlights? Give me a couple highlights. Always, it doesn't even have to, with this one, you don't even have to say best fight scene. Just what really something that's. I'll go first. So for me, that overhead shot of like the prison where they're all in the mud. That really set the tone. That was like a moment in cinema. I was like,
some of it's slow motion as well.
Oh man, it was just like I'm so happy. I'll just have to say you guys are doing these interventions because there's moments I'm like, man, I must seem like an idiot that I have not seen this yet. I mean, it's just like
not at all. It's part of the charm, honestly. Like exactly. I think it works perfectly.
It's endearing.
I like the fact because in some ways now that we're doing this, right, you're saving these things so we can do this, right?
I'm not even going to run to Moronto. I mean, I don't know if that's going to hold up after these two. No,
flat
really.
It won't. No. Like it's still at some point worth seeing, but no, it's not up to these dizzying heights. So I think we're being pretty careful with which ones we are picking as intervention episodes, and I think it's the fact that it's played out this way is perfect. Like I think you're coming to these things at the exact right time. You need to come to these things. So there's no rule book that says you've got to watch something within the first 100 days of it being released, right? People come to things when they come to things, and I think there's still a whole bunch of older cinema that we haven't seen that Shaun and I are experiencing for the first time too, right?
Oh yeah,
I just got one. I mentioned it just before we started recording, and I just got a series of 3 Japanese Yakuza films that I'd never even heard of before, let alone seen before, that I have a chance to dive into, that have Sonny Chiba, and I thought I was pretty aware of those things. So I'm looking forward to diving into those. So we come to things at the right time, I think, because and so we've got a whole bunch more of these planned.
Into Johnny Toe at the moment. As awesome. His releases start, I've just picked up. Is it Hero Never Dies? Just picked up that because Johnny Toe, I didn't even know who the hell he was until about 2 years ago.
Oh, me too.
No clue. I didn't watch any Johnny Toe films at all. And I'm a guy who's like, yep, I'm the Asian cinema guy. I know all about Asian cinema. I know like 4 Kung Fu films, and that's about it. There's so much for me to explore. And
his filmography is huge. Johnny Toe's made so many.
I also have a thing. I don't know if you guys ever have this. Sometimes I can just I went to see for instance, the Dark Knight Rises opening night. I like getting in there with the hype, but sometimes when the hype's so big, I sometimes like to later on have my own little quiet moment with it. You know,
I love that.
Yeah, you know, it's just because sometimes it's like the pressure.
Hype can almost be off-putting to me because you start feeling nervous that it's going to possibly live up to all the shit that you're hearing. And so I held off watching Jurassic Park and Titanic.
Oh, man.
And both of those I didn't see for probably a decade after they came out.
Oh, wow. See, I saw those in the theaters. Did you love at least Jurassic Park?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And Titanic, solid. Titanic is, I mean, it is well made.
Titanic. Yeah, it's a great film, but it's fucking long, and it's.
I only saw it once in the theater. My sister, she's 8 years younger than me. I think she's seen it like 10 times or something. I mean, she's seen it so many times.
The only film I fell asleep in.
The problem for me was that fucking song, like, because that song got to number one and stayed at number one for the longest time. I fucking hated that Celine Dion song. I had the same problem with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, that was at number one in the UK for fucking 6 years.
Bryan Adams, right? Bryan Adams.
Yeah, I really
will fight for you.
Bad times.
I don't know if you guys
seen that film for ages.
Did your MTV UK or whatever? Did they play that like 24/7? Because over here,
you couldn't get away from it.
We didn't even have like an MTV equivalent over here. We had like a Top of the Pops once a week, and we had radio.
Yeah, but it played
everywhere all the time.
Everywhere.
Like it was
on the radio, on audio,
just fucking everywhere. Like you would go into a shop and it'd be playing.
Over here, it was the video, and it'd be like Kevin Costner doing like when the bridge comes, he's like fighting. We had a video that was a medley of the scenes of Kevin Costner, Bryan Adams doing that. But as we wrap it up, I wanted to ask you, so like, I'm just saying, for me, the prison scene, of course, the kitchen scene, I mean, maybe we're going to be sharing, but are there any things that you guys watch that's just kind of like, you know?
I think that the one thing that stood out to me when I first watched this film, and I don't think it does now because it's been imitated so many times, and that is Eco fighting in the interior of the car, especially the overhead shot where they've obviously taken the roof off the car, and like that car fight. Until the Raid 2, I don't think I'd seen anything like that. A car that was that choreographed. And now look at how many films have done it after that.
I Am the Devil had that. I Am the Devil had a similar one.
So many. And I think, oh my God, I saw a film recently. Never mind. I was trying to think of a film. I saw a film that had it recently, but I can't remember the name of the film. But yeah, I've seen it plenty of times.
How about you, Dragon?
Landmark thing.
For me, I'm slightly similar. Like, I love the whole car fight / car chase. I think a lot of the stuff with the motorbike, as well, the kind of how the motorbike integrates itself into that kind of car chase is just, it's so well realized, and the behind the scenes I find just as entertaining. I kind of like the last, I guess we call it the last reel, when kind of Eco basically has to. It's essentially computer game style where he's successively going through different bosses, but when he starts when he starts like from crashing through into the kind of like, I guess you'd call it like the parking area of the
the loading bay.
I'm sure
it's like a hangar area.
The loading
bay.
No, loading bay is perfect, right? And kind of pulling down all the massive kind of like, they've got these kind of big standing racks of stuff that's just there to get used. In the fact there's like empty water bottles and all that sort of stuff that he's throwing at some guys. I love that whole sequence. That then I'm sure they've mashed a bunch of locations together, because he runs up from there straight into having to deal with baseball bat guy and hammer girl, and then after them he has to deal with CSEP in the kitchen. I like that whole ascension of him kind of going through those, because he's so fucking exhausted by the time, and even doesn't even let up after he's beaten CSEP. He's kind of literally has to go up against the guy with the shotgun. And that whole stuff's really well realized as well.
That's the hit
I like
points
basically the last row. Yeah, completely. That whole last section I absolutely adore. But I still a lot of time I love I've forgotten his name again. Like Procoso,
I think. Yeah.
Procoso. All the stuff with him, even his dramatic scenes, are a real highlight for me. I love that it stays in the movie, and I think it's the finest piece of acting that I think I've yet to see that actor doing. Agreed. And it's the most he's had a chance to really actually show his action chops, and he did the choreography for almost the whole movie. He was the one that trained. This is the first time that Julia Estelle had done a movie, so Eco and Yayan had to train up Julia Estelle to be able to do all the stuff on the subway.
Wow!
That first Hammer Girl scene in the subway, also just phenomenal.
Oh, so good,
so well staged. Like, and just how it breaks down the shots, because you're like, it has almost no dialogue, and you don't need any, but it's all told so perfectly with her looking at the phone, and the picture of the guy on the phone, he's almost in exactly the same pose as he's in. Like, he's holding like a little bag up, and so it's like literally going from him to get okay. So she zones in on him, and then just works her way through all those dudes in a really nasty series of like horrible attacks with a hammer. That are just brutal. And she she delivers so well in that scene for someone who'd done no martial arts.
I did not know that.
No action stuff.
I didn't know
That
this was
her
the first one, though. Wow.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was. I think she was a fashion model beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
And then literally they kind of picked her, and she did so well that she ended up doing a bunch of movies. So she did this, she did Headshot, she did The Night Comes for Us. I pray at some point that he brings her back for some future Shadow Strays movie. He met with her recently, and she put on some of her clothes from The Night Comes for Us, and was like, still fits, because she's had like a couple of kids now, I think, and she's like largely just being a stay-at-home mum, I think. But yeah, he's still kind of very much still speaking to her, so hopefully we'll see her back again, because she's got a lot of presence on screen.
One other moment there, that Percoso in that scene, I love the timing, how when it was like the exact moment they showed his eyes kind of look and realize everyone had left.
Mm-hmm.
For me, maybe someone knew it was coming. I didn't see it. It just was, it hit exactly when I realized, oh shit, something's going on. I had known that they had said to him, we're going to try to, they hinted at, we're going to take out someone bigger. And I figured it was him, but I guess I was just so into the scene, and it just was, he seemed like I said, with his hair, he seemed kind of out of place. Like he had been like, and it's just, that scene is great tension.
Every scene with him is perfect. Even the first time that you see him before they've plotted to try and kill him, when the first time you see him actually taking a hit, and he goes to see the father, and the father gives him, like, he pours tea for the dad, and he gives him an envelope of the guy that he's got to hit next, and he goes with a machete. And when he goes to fight his way through everybody, he doesn't use the machete once. Until he gets to the last guy. Every single guy he takes out in a series of really more and more complex ways, without ever resorting to the. So he basically does it all one-handed, right? One-handed or with his knees, and kind of works his way through however many guys, and then finally uses the machete for literally only the last guy, which is a really great way of showing, without explaining it, how skilled and how kind of proficient he is at what he does. Phenomenal. And his death sequence breaks my fucking heart. And a great choice of classical music as well. Like, he's the one needle drop that he puts in is like, it's just perfect.
I have to say one more thing. These are hitting me. That's a big note. I put music. I forgot to look at it. Just to say real quick, that's the other thing. The soundtrack on this is immaculate.
Yeah.
Sometimes my issue with modern films is where they try to like prop up the scene with some kind of techno-y like going thing. And I've said before, when that hit in The Matrix, when you first saw him doing something, that was very of its time. But sometimes now it feels like, I don't know, just it feels a little dated. This, he didn't go for that at all. He went more for swelling, symphonic, like in that scene is very, we've said Kubrickian a lot on the podcast, but that was very Clockwork Orange with the classical music and the violence, and I just thought the music on this was so perfect. It never felt like, I mean, The Raid's kind of hard to talk about the music because you have the two soundtracks, and I saw the main one first, and when you watch the other one, I actually was kind of more attached to the, what is it called, the well-known or the theatrical one. I can't remember the different versions, but
the Mike Shinoda one.
Yes, that one is the one that's like the default one, I'd say. Yeah. The default, that one I was more attached to. That the other one actually kind of felt closer to this. And I feel that me going into this, I just was happy they didn't. If I heard a guitar distortion, it would just kill me. Like if that prison scene had some like rocking guitar, I would just be like, that's horrible. I'm just happy they didn't feel
like biscuit on the soundtrack or something.
Imagine like rolling. That would just tag the whole scene. Suddenly we're in like Cradle to the Grave zone or something. And not that that's bad, but it's just very dated of its time.
Should we do one of those films one day for the podcast?
I think so.
Something like Romeo Must Die or something.
Maybe. I'll let you guys maybe.
I think it's just a sign of a filmmaker at that point who had a lot of confidence to know what he wanted to do and delivered literally on every regard. There's even like an assuredness in the fact that he shoots certain scenes only from a master, only from a really wide angle, and he never punches in. A lot of the time when he's doing all the stuff out in the fields, he's literally from really far back, and he lets the whole thing play out that way. When you're seeing the kind of scene, I think he maybe punches in once closer when Eco's speaking to the father, but when you're seeing the body getting dropped in the water, it's all from you're really far away, just watching the whole thing play out, and it never feels like a chore to get through those little moments. Like it plays out so kind of incredibly well. It's a phenomenal achievement, really. It's an absolute masterpiece of action cinema.
Yeah, and honestly, I went into it watching it this time not wanting to like it because
Mm.
I'm honestly so sick of how many times on social media someone goes, "What's the best martial arts film?" And then everyone goes, "The Raid" or "The Raid 2, The Raid, The Raid 2." And I just wanted to hate this film and be like, "Well, everyone's wrong. Everyone is absolutely wrong because this is not that." And they're sadly right.
Well, they're right to a degree. I think that a lot of
Yes.
people think that the action cinema ended after the Raid 2 was made, and that's
Yes.
not true. So that there
Yes.
have been a lot of phenomenal things made since. They're just very different. And
Yeah.
this is kind of very, particularly in the martial art that it celebrates, this is a uniquely Indonesian movie.
Mhm.
Like, and I think everything about the way that they're kind of portraying the battling different gangs, and the fact you've kind of got this Japanese influence coming in, that's kind of contesting the sort of the local Indonesian gang or kind of group that's kind of in control for most of the city. All that sort of stuff is kind of very uniquely Indonesian. They did it a little bit in the Raid too, because like Indonesia is predominantly Muslim, I think, as a country, and Iko you saw him praying and
Yeah.
doing that sort of stuff in the first movie. I kind of feel you focused on that a little bit less in the Raid 2, but you kind of already knew who Iko was by this point. So I think the stuff with his family was kind of more, I think, more right for the story, the way that they kind of used it this time round. But it is a very kind of uniquely Indonesian experience, particularly in how you see the martial arts, because this is a much better display for Silat than we saw in the Raid, which is just more kind of all-out brawl and a lot more gunplay in the Raid, like as in the Raid Redemption, the first one. So there was guns in places here, but a lot less guns.
For some reason, the first one feels more martial arts to me than this. Maybe because I'm thinking of like the car chase scene. Like, no, I'm not like, I'm just thinking in my mind, if someone said which has more martial arts, in my mind, there's like way more fighting in the Raid. Yeah,
it's kind of him going against a lot of dudes with machetes in the first one, so there's a lot more kind of like knife work and kind of guns in places in the first one. It's kind of feels more right for like an organized unit of police guys who some can fight, some can't. And then there's a couple of exceptional martial arts sequences in the first one through Mad Dog and through his sort of moments. But
there's isolated there's isolated like boss fights almost.
Yeah, and he's really
there's 19 action sequences in the Raid 2.
Oh wow!
That's I was watching a special feature, and that's what I think it was cinematographer maybe said. He said there were 19. I don't know what they define as action sequence, but he said there was 19 in total in the Raid 2.
Wow,
that's a lot.
But each one quite uniquely different.
Yeah. Has anyone? I'm sure I'm not the first one to say this. Has anyone like said that sentiment that I say that maybe it should have been not a sequel and been its own standalone film?
I haven't heard that before.
Okay.
No, neither have I. It may be unique to you.
The thing that I hear most commonly is that a lot of people do seem to favor the first one over the second.
Yeah,
I think if this was but I think if this was the first, I think that would have worked beautifully if the second one had a higher budget and they were able to do that like that. Like I said earlier, I just think that would have. The next one wouldn't have to have as much plot, and all the characters. So them going up there the scenes would have even more weight. I mean, you'd have to adjust some things.
I think the first one's a really satisfying burger, and the second one's a 3-course meal. So
okay.
And sometimes all you want is a really satisfying burger, but it's nice sometimes to sit down and have the time and space to sit and go through a 3-course meal, and to kind of enjoy each individual course for everything that it brings. So I think they're different animals, but I think a lot of people do probably balk slightly at the runtime. I think that's what puts some people off, because there's a lot of
on both of them.
No, not for the second one. I think that's why people favor the first one more than the second, because there's a lot more story.
The first one's nice and tight.
Yeah. And it's you waiting less time between the action sequences. So if you're just literally out for action, but I think action's always, for me, is always better when it's driven by story. And so for me, I enjoy the non-action beats as much as I do the action beats in the Raid 2.
Amen. Yeah.
And that
I just thought of
some people.
My alteration would be Mad Dog when he's in that alley. I'm calling him Mad Dog because this is like what I'm trying to say. When he's in that alley, he somehow survives and gets away, and then you get to him in the Raid 1 if that was a sequel. Like
okay.
Those characters, to be fair, are very, very different.
Yes, and we get to there's a bunch of other movies that actor is in, and he's great in them too.
Yeah,
he's got a really very fun, quite ridiculous part in Boy Kills World. He's like,
He's great in that film.
Wow.
he's
That film's trash, but he's great in it.
Yes.
I got to see that. I mean, I can't
He's
picture
also-
him in like.
Oh no, I was going to say a spoiler. What other film he's in, but I can't say.
Yeah,
it.
you can
I
watch
know
it.
where you're about to go now. That one will hold tight for just now.
Well,
'Cause
here's
that'd
as we wrap it up, I would say my intervention request is not, this might not exist, and not for the next one, maybe down the line. If you guys can get me one that has some training in it, I would love that, because you know how much I love training.
Oh,
I've noticed in
we can
these
do that.
movies, yeah, they have some of that. I don't know. It just feels like these movies.
No,
like,
I'm saying we can do that. Me and Dragon can do that. I guarantee we can find a film with training in
Okay.
it. For you.
Yeah, that'd be cool, because I feel like I mean, this movie doesn't need another half hour, and these guys are already well-developed martial arts. Just something about that always ups it all for me. When the training's going on of any sort, it just, it like seals the deal a lot for me.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to have a
Challenge
think about
accepted.
that. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up here, fellas. This has been one heck of a discussion. Thank you, everyone that is listening. We really, really appreciate you. And obviously, you hear us talking about film upon film upon film. We're not going anywhere. We've got lots of films to talk about. So please stick with us. And if you like what we do, subscribe. Why not? And if you subscribe to us and stick with us for a few episodes and really like what we do, maybe give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That would be awesome. Or rate us on whatever podcast platform you listen to. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. That's goodbye from me. I'm Shaun, Food for Thought. Goodbye from Jason.
Later, everyone.
And goodbye from the Fanatical Dragon.
See you next month.
Take care, everyone, and we will catch you next time.